Thank you very much for our panel of speakers and a wonderful program today. I just want to say a few words of thanks. It was November last year when Frederic and Jeanette was inviting Singapore Hospice Council to come and be co-organizing this symposium with them. What struck me at that time was the beauty of this partnership, because Yale-NUS represents the space in academia. This Access Health International would represent their relationships with the technopreneurs, the entrepreneurs, and the businesses. And Singapore Hospice Council will have our relationship among our hospice community. And so we thought that this symposium would be wonderful because we are bringing people from 3 different communities together to come and to think together and to work together. So I hope you did have a very good day, and it's not ending yet, and we have to make sure that it's the ending must be meaningful, yeah? So it's not the end yet. So please do stay, because there'll be a wonderful presentations of music that is coming up from our many talented musicians that has been lined up. Yes. Singapore Hospice Council is an umbrella organization in Singapore that has 17 members that's providing hospice and palliative care to Singaporeans and residents on our island. We have a partnership with Ministry of Health, actually, to go into community engagement program to encourage conversations. So this partnership is also a wonderful way of encouraging everybody to start that conversation with your loved ones and to start beginning to think, what's important in our lives and how do we want to go about planning our end-of-life care. Yes. I hope that you found these sessions, have been mentally stimulating, emotionally moving, relationally meeting new people, uplifting, and you will find that physically, I hope that your tummies, find satisfaction, from the food that has been fed to you. I certainly learned a lot more today about this telomere. Yeah, something that I didn't know about in the past. Yes. I would also want to take this opportunity to thank Jeanette. You have been wonderful, amazingly, organizing, putting so much hard work behind the scene and in front, and on today and this day. We have a book here, which is recording the history of hospice and palliative care development in Singapore since its inception. And we would like to present on behalf of Hospice Council and to say thank you for giving us this opportunity and this platform to be able to share with the audience. And the next copy would be for Frederic. Thank you so much for being a wonderful administrator and fundraiser to make this happen. Thank you, Frederic. Yes. I also want to encourage you to take a look at some of the paintings out there in the Minley exhibition. During this process, what touched me a lot was this series of trees, and the series is called A Gathering of Trees. And I thought that the art therapists from RCC Hospice have very well written these curatorial statements, and maybe I read this to you. There were 14 artists there. Of A Gathering of Trees are participants of weekly open art group at daycare, aged 31 to 91 years old. Many of them would have announced initially that they had not done any art before and expressed doubts about their own abilities. Yet whether it was only their first weeks working creatively or they have been with the group for years, the participants possess dynamic qualities that translate into unique artistic styles that never fail to delight not just the artist himself, but everyone working with them and to me. When I saw these 24 trees, not one tree was the same. That was the amazing part. And they came from the patients themselves, from this age range. So I hope you will see the beauty that is behind this painting, the soul and the spirit and life that's in these patients. So may I take this opportunity now to welcome Ms. Fei Lee, and she will be presenting to us, introducing her musical selection. She's from Yale-NUS College, class of 2020. May I invite Fei to come on stage.
Today I will be playing pieces by 4 composers, Schumann, Prokofiev, Ginastera, and Chopin. The first piece, the Schumann, is very innocent sounding. The next 4 are more meditative, building up to the final piece, a Chopin Etude, which has a very unsettled feel. So perhaps this in some ways reflects the stages of life and the experience of confronting death. It would be really great if you could hold your applause until the end so that we can enjoy the silence in between the pieces. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeanette, for inviting me to do this. I was asked to find and think about music that was for death, dying, aging, and anything else, loss. And so it's actually quite hard to find songs that are specifically about aging or anything. And so I sent out a message to a collection of people who happen to be in my field, which is called ethnomusicology. And to my surprise, I received over 200 suggestions about what I might include in this particular mini soundscape. And so I have written myself a script so that I don't talk too much, because I will talk too much otherwise. And so I will start immediately. To begin, a conversation with death.
Oh, death. Oh, death. Won't you spare me over till another year? Well, what is this that I can't see with ice cold hands taking hold of me? Well, I am death, none can excel. I'll open the door to heaven or hell. Oh, death, someone would pray, could you wait to call me another day? The children prayed, the preacher preached, time and mercy is out of your reach. I'll fix your feet till you can't walk, I'll lock your jaw till you can't talk. I'll close your eyes so you can't see this very hour. Come and go with me. Death, I come to take the soul, leave the body and leave it cold. To drop the flesh off of the frame, the earth and worm both have a claim.
O death, woe death, won't you spare me o'er till another year? This conversation begins with an invocation, a calling to you, death, who then responds in the first-person voice, immediately indicating who's actually in control. The repetitive melody is set so the top of the arch of each melodic phrase hits the strongest and highest note in the apex of the singer's range. Oh, he said, is highest. And then the melody has a tremulous quality as it gradually filters down. As the voice gets lower, there's a tremulousness which suggests fear and sonic capitulation, even as the singer's words still bravely bargain and argue with death. Although loneliness could be suggested by the lack of an actual accompaniment for the voice in this recording, the sureness of the tuning of the singer makes it seem as if there's a silent drone tone persistently drawing the singer back to the home tone of the song. Our ear knows where the melody is heading. Each phrase wends its way down predictably, wearily setting on the home tone, but then occasionally weakly dropping below it, as if it can't hold on any longer. Another sonic suggestion that this contest will eventually be won by death, just as surely as the cold slowly creeps into the body, moving up from the feet to the heart as death harvests the soul. This song was actually written and performed by Lord Chandler, first performed by Lord Chandler, who was an American Appalachian folk musician and a Free Will Baptist preacher from Madison County in North Carolina. This version, however, is one many of you know. It's performed by the inimitable Ralph Stanley, who's an American bluegrass artist, best known for his banjo playing and most especially for this, his distinctive singing style, often referred to as the high and lonesome sound. This performance was used, and this is why you know it, for the opening of the film Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, and it won Stanley a Grammy Award for Best Male Country Vocal Performance in 2002. Oh Death represents a dying, death approaching, but not yet here. For those heard in this next recording, death has already arrived.
Yeah.
Heterophony is the word that's used to describe this kind of sound, where there's clearly one tune and everyone is singing it, but each performer adds his or her, in this case, her own micro-interpretations of the singing. One voice singing alone would never be enough for this kind of lament. The voices support one another and together create a complete sound, as those gathered around the grave cluster together for support, and the touch of the living friends and family prevents self-harm. Prevent self-harm for the people who are truly mourning from overreaction by the chief mourners at the moment, especially of the final leave-taking. If you notice the ambitus of the melody, which is the range, the arc that the melody makes, it drops down to the home tone, or from the home tone down to pitch 5, so it goes la, 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 la. Remember that, la, 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 la. You're going to need it in a couple seconds. It turns out that the particular melodic arc follows a shape that's similar to the natural sigh, or even some common infant wailings. So similar melodic structure can be found in lamentations across Europe and in many other places in the world. Claudio Monteverdi noticed this same phenomenon. He's a 17th century composer, 16th, 17th century composer, and he used the falling melody that outlines that same note, that same series, the fourth, la, 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 to anchor one of his two most famous laments, which is called Lamento della Ninfa, written sometime between 1614 and 1638, when it was finally published in his 8th book of madrigals. In 3 sections, this piece describes a nymph who has lost her heart's love. We don't know what kind of love has been lost. We assume it's a love lost and not a death, but we don't know until a bit later. But the words are ambiguous, especially in the context of the lamentation traditions around the world. And that is precisely the point of Ottavio Rinuccini and Monteverdi's musical rendering, not to mention that of many other poets in the world who equate the experience of abandonment by a lover to the same, as equal to the loss through death. In this performance, of which you're only going to hear a short bit, the nymph announces her loss in a field, literally a pasture, accompanied by a trio of sympathetic shepherds. And they have previously, to where we begin this performance, they have described her as recklessly trampling over the flowers that she has previously spent so much time caring and nurturing for. She says, I'm just going to do a little bit of a translation, love, love, love. Where is the truth? That traitor has vowed. Make him return to my love as he once was, or else kill me, so I can no longer torment myself. And then throughout this, the 3 shepherds are commenting, oh, poor girl, no more should she suffer this cold ice. And then she finally finishes, I no longer want him to breathe unless far from me, so that he can no longer say things that torture me. Okay, so here she is. Right? Serious. So here's your dropping 4 notes. Whole piece is built on that. stop there, sorry. I want to play you another recording of the same piece. Monteverdi actually, could you hear this? Just a 4-step down, dum, dum, dum. That's the lament theme. So Monteverdi actually, in the description of how you should perform this, he encourages the male chorus and the accompaniment to stay in time, but he encourages the soprano soloist to let her emotions out and to be free in terms of how she organizes time rhythmically within the performance. And so, the previous performance was by Caroline Sampson singing with the King's Consort, and this next one is soprano Rosanna Bertini singing in quite a different emotional style. Accompaniment too, style, but same 4 notes. If you want to hear more, I can give you the citation. Okay, so keeping in theme with the similarities between lamentation for death and for love's lost, people in cultures with traditions of death lamentation, also around the world, frequently sing similar kinds of songs as part of marriage rituals for their children, especially in contexts where the children are going to leave their natal home and go to someone else's house. Here's a reenactment. It's not actually a reenactment. It's something that still continues, but the video is a reenactment of a honey wedding lament, and you can see it, the whole theater of the press. It's the last in the ritual. She's being taken by the father and the female members of her husband's family. I'll stop it there, sorry. So that video was actually made by Vivian Fung, who is an Asian American composer living in New York City. And as I said, this is the final song in the ritual of the honey. When honey have death ceremonies, the wailing sounds very similar. I could not find a recording of that, alas, because they only do it when there's actually a death. If wedding lamentation demonstrates the oral connections between the rites of passage, the rituals associated with the stages of aging in a community, creating sonic links between the rites associated with aging, with the aging process, both those that happen early in life and then after life. That was the only thing connection that I could find for aging, the rites of passage and the connections. Commemoration after the death of a loved one is an important way for communities to remember a cultivation of emotions and thoughts about the person after the sharp edges of loss have been worn. The genre called Scottish pibroch combines the emotional variation of Monteverdi with the stabilizing drone of the laments of women in Potomia. Here, let me just play for you a little bit. stop there on the home tone. The sound of the bagpipe feels cold on a lonely moor to me when I hear it. The drone accompanies the melody but also nearly annihilates it, creating visceral, albeit sonic tension as the melody approaches and then joins the drone tone. The origin of this tune lies somewhere back in the 15th and 16th centuries, perhaps written to commemorate the final battle at Inverlochy in 1427, when the Scottish clans were warring against the English. It was later set by Sir Walter Scott with a text and then a much more steady tempo. But a true Piobrach is a solo, unmetered performance commemorating and remembering those who have been lost. Musicians write them for one another and also for famous members of their communities. The drone symbolizes the steadfast respect from the piper who performs, even as the sound itself absorbs all others, suggesting that we must succumb. I have one more example for you. It is not, alas, the Armenian duduk, because that is the world's saddest sound, but I don't have time to play that for you. Instead, I'm going to play this in another form of celebratory commemoration. In New Orleans, after someone has died, they take the coffin, they walk the coffin out of the city playing with a jazz band or a brass band, very slow, out of sort of discombobulated rhythmic performances of hymns that you know, like Amazing Grace and Swing Low, Sweet Chariot. But on the way back, it's a time to be joyous, and it would be very bad luck to send a soul off with nothing but doom and gloom, they say, just as those who are left on earth must move on and seize the joy of life once again. Here's a little bit of it. With an umbrella during these marches back. Stop it there, sorry. Commemoration in this tradition and in many others is a process, first recognizing and acknowledging the sorrow and the passing, and then confirming the continuation of life forces in those who are left and who must carry on in this world. I leave you with just this brief exploration of the myriad ways in which human cultures engage aging, dying, death, and remembrance. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is James Jack. I'm an artist, and today I'm going to show a short film. This is a piece that is inspired with the elderly community in a place called Setouchi, so the inland sea. My studio's been based in Japan for about 10 years, and so this was made while I was still based in Japan. Currently I'm here in Singapore, and the topic today is something that's very close to my heart. So many of my artworks see aging as something that we can learn from and wisdom from the elders, rather than something that in society oftentimes there's different perceptions. So just briefly, I'll explain. This is in Setouchi, and the artwork is a permanent artwork that I've designed together with the community. So what you're going to watch here is a musical concert that took place at the artwork. So I'm a visual artist and designed this house together with the elderly community. It was formerly known as the Mutsumi Clubhouse. So it was a stone quarry, a place where people gathered. But that didn't come up until the third or fourth year of the project. So it starts in 2009, and this was a film that was made in 2013. Please enjoy. I really feel that this house exists because of the words, feelings, emotions that everyone have put into the building.
花見したり忘年会、会社の忘年会したりするのにやっぱりみんなが集まってそこで飲んだり食べたりしよったやな。
いいわな。それであの中で遊んだらええんちゃうん畳の部屋やしな、集会読みたりな。
The spirit of music comes from performances and things that have happened here from many years ago. So when it was a clubhouse, people would gather here and tell stories, celebrate New Year's and invite musicians to have drinking parties. So in some ways it's very much in the same spirit of the house.
壁であれ、そこを突き抜けていくわけですね。で、いろんな意味で音楽っていうのは人と人のその心をつなぎ合わせるね、最高の私は道具かなと思ってるんですよ。
このような、雨の中で来て大変ありがたい気持ちです。ここに来て新しい思い出できたら、意味があると思います。
石を砕く機械があったんですけどね、それがガッガッガッガッガッガッ石を砕く 音ですね。それがすごい音があって、ここの地域の人はその石での生活をしておったという。
だから石の裏に書いてる悩み事とかいろんなこと悪いことを全部こう逆さにして封じ込めとる。
この中に書いとるいうんだけをみんな思っとるわな。うちも書いたんで、わしも書いたんじゃいって常
に集ってるわけですね。この壁の中にもこちらを見てるわけです。で庭からも見てるっていうより一緒に参加してるわけですね。ですからそういう意味では実際には聞こえない言葉がですね飛び交ってるんですよ。
If people hadn't put their feelings, emotions, wishes, as well as suffering, difficulties, challenges, if all of those things did not go into this house, it would never exist. Happy life 夕焼け今日一日この世から見る気持ちがホッとする。So it's a space that's different from the typical community space because it has certain rustic elements. It's not as convenient or as utilitarian as other spaces, but it has its own feeling. It has its closeness to nature, and the house itself provides a place for new encounters. People from different ages, people from different towns, different countries, different cultures, and different lifestyles can all meet in this same common space. So we don't have a lot of time, but I just wanted to mention two things in relation to this piece. So the first thing is that during the course of the project, there's been a few interesting things that have happened related to aging. So as you can see, the house now has kind of a round sunset on the outside of it, made with wood, both vertical and horizontal. one of the original proposals that I showed to the community was actually to stripe those clapboards, the burnt ones and the raw ones, across each other. But the community immediately responded that that's what's done for funerals. So striped white and black cloth is hung all around the town whenever there's a funeral in Japan. So people said, no, that's not what to do with the community space. So then I brought them another proposal, which was stripes going horizontally, and then that kind of also didn't go over so well. So in the first couple of years, there was really a lot of back and forth and really discussion about different cultural aspects about aging and what people would see as a kind of positive symbol for the community. So something that everybody was proud of and felt good about was the sunset, and the town faces towards the west, so that was the images on the walls. And then what you see inside of the building, those are wishes made by, there's only 6 children that live in this town. So the children from other towns nearby, I held workshops in different schools and brought a lot of young people to visit this site, which was an emotional experience. And then just most recently, so Kuroshima Satsuki is a now 94-year-old woman who lives right next to here, and her husband used to take care of this house until the 1990s when he passed away. So just most recently, she's moved into an elderly home, which is about 30 minutes away from Sunset House. So her son, who appears in the film here, now takes care of the house. And so this is a permanent artwork in the Setouchi area that's still used by the community for their own music events, painting, and different workshops. So next year, again, will be the triennial, and it will be open again throughout the seasons. Thank you very much.
Okay, we made it. We just about made it. Thank you, Faye. That was the most beautiful, beautiful, beautiful playing. Can we thank Faye Lee again? And Sarah and James, thank you. You can see, some of you know me from many, many years ago at Yale in New Haven, Connecticut, and you can see why I'm so happy here and the extraordinary colleagues and students who I have the privilege to work with, and also my community partners, so thank you so very much. We are waiting for our very last piece. Andrea is going to give us, Andrea Clearfield, who kicked off the morning with Brahms. I like symmetry. So Andrea will come out, share with you a bit about Tse Go. Some artistic notes were shared by some of our student volunteers. Thank you to all of you throughout the day. And then we will close the event. You won't have to hear from me or any other words again with Andrea and Mark Teo and Yuru Lee from the conservatory. And they will close out our day at the threshold of this life. So thank you so, so much for coming, and thank you for being here throughout the day.
If you could just come very quickly. There's a little surprise from the organizing committee. So before we wrap up today, the organizing committee and I suppose all of us would like to thank you for putting together this amazing, wonderful, beautiful conference with a little bit of flowers.
Thank you, everyone. It was a team effort. It takes a village. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming.